Welcome, everybody. We're just waiting for the waiting room to be emptied and everybody's in the conversation. So it won't be a minute. We'll start in less than a minute. Okay, we're right on 8 o'clock. So thank you all for being here, and a great big welcome to all the parents and guardians that have come to listen tonight about our the wonderful start to the school year for next year for our little prep and kindy students. So if you do have any questions tonight, we would really, really love to hear from you. So up in the top bar, you'll actually see a Q&A or a chat function. So please, please pop your questions in when they pop into your head. All participants' cameras and mics are off, given we've got some wonderful speakers to listen to tonight, but we really, really do want to hear from you. So fully engage with the conversation, and if you have any questions or comments, then please pop them in the chat function. If we don't get to answer them tonight, we promise that we will get back to you. So all questions or queries will be answered at some stage. So I'd like to open tonight by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands that we're all meeting on today. I'm actually on the Wurundjeri people's land in Melbourne, and we pay our deep respects to elders past, present and emerging. We have this lovely piece of artwork that was done for us by a wonderful Indigenous artist, Jodie Hurden, and it really recognises the relationship to country and all the links that we have across our communities at Junior Adventures Group. So we love the fact that this is part of what we do. Tonight, we have this array of speakers for you. You're listening to me at the moment. I'm the CEO. We have the wonderful Robin Munro-Miller, AO, as the CEO of Play Australia, who'll take us through some information. Jessica Sargent, who's our Customer Experience Manager, and will unlock the secrets of childcare subsidy and bookings and enrolments. And our fantastic Regional Manager, Shauna Nugent, who is from Queensland and works so beautifully with our little prep and kindy kids. And she's here to share what a day in the life of Osh for our little preppies will look like. So thank you for being here. Feel so privileged to have so many parents and supporters of Outside Schoolhouse Care in the room today. Our purpose today is to take you through what it will look like for our little prep and kindy children as they commence their big adventure into big school. And it's such a precious time, and we want you to enjoy it, and we want to be here to support you all as much as we can. At Junior Adventures Group, we have our morning programs, which we refer to as Rise and Shine, and also Stay and Play. And that's surrounded by wonderful programs that your children can engage in, our adventure programs that are there to enrich your child's development and really scaffold around that school day and that education journey that they're about to start on. That, and then of course Holiday HQ, which is full of fun for children to have over holidays and spend time with their friends. So we really, really look forward to presenting to you tonight and engaging with you as your child starts this adventure. One of the most important things we can collectively do, and what enables children to thrive and be enriched by these programs, is of course ensuring they're safe. So we just wanted to let you know that we take that responsibility incredibly at the forefront of everything we do. And one of the ways that we do that is we truly listen to the children. It's no good adults just saying this is what will keep me safe. We really want to hear from the children, and we want to know what makes them feel safe. So in September this year, we reached out to our children, and the 5 top things they told us that make them safe and feel safe, which is super important, is of course the educators, their family, their friends, the parents, and the teachers. These are all people, adults, that surround children to ensure that they're safe. And we just want to let you know how important it is that we correctly screen these people and make sure that they're appropriate to work with your children. It's something we take incredibly seriously, and we would like you to engage with us Safeguarding children and ensuring children thrive is definitely about relationship. What our children also told us is they feel safe when they understand their boundaries. Food is actually a really important part of how children really feel comfortable and safe too, because part of what we do at Junior Adventures Group is make sure that they are well nourished and they get to understand food. And it's really, really important that we do that. So hash browns in this case were important. Kind people are also really, really important to children and make them feel safe. When my ideas are heard, being at netball and being around friends, so doing things they really enjoy doing. And the way that we provide those activities to children is by listening to what really excites them, what they want to do, how they can engage with the programs is something we listen to each week within any of our programs. Also, being under a roof is very important, so we can never forget that. And we always make sure our roofs are really strong. So that's another really important way we keep children safe. At any time, we want you to reach out to us. So we have with all our team members across Junior Adventures Group and with all the school partners that we work with, it's so important that if you see something or hear something or actually feel something, you really need to say something. So that's the culture we present. We just want to make sure everybody knows too that there's absolutely no personal device use at Junior Adventures Group. And if you have any concerns or any comments you want to make about how you feel that your child will feel safer, then just please always let us know. There's a link in this pack, which you'll be getting to, which shows you where all our policies are. But we absolutely know this is fundamental to ensuring children can thrive and want you to have as much information as you need before your little child starts with outside school hours care. So I'm now going to hand over to Robin and we're going to go through some really, really important information around how you can playfully support your child's transition to school. So I'll hand over to Robin. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Mel. Thank you for having me this evening. Great to be here. And I suppose I'd just like to start. There's a saying that always strikes a chord with me, and with my children starting school, it was something that I remembered. And it is about the fact, and if we just change that slide, it is about, having a child and your heart walking around outside your body. And as your children are commencing school, you're probably going to be feeling very vulnerable to the fact that your heart is now walking around outside your body and, in fact, in a very independent environment, which is school. So we should never underestimate what a special time this is, but also what an emotional time this can be, not just for children who are making that transition, but it's a transition for the whole family, including parents. So my job this evening is to actually talk to you about some strategies for making that transition as smooth as possible. And so I'd like to start off by just alerting you to what we talk about with regard to play. And if we change that slide, and it's about setting the scene for success. And why I'm going to be talking to you first about the importance of play is because we know that play is actually a biological imperative. But when preparing ourselves for any transition, it's a really valuable way of creating an environment that supports children. If we could just change that. Yeah. What we know from neuroscience is that after just 30 minutes of unstructured play, a third of the neurons in our brain, and the neurons are nerve cells, a third of those neurons in our brain are actually changed and reconfigured. And when we play, neurotransmitters are actually going all the way through our brain and helping us to think. It's helping executive function, as you can see, motor control, motivation, processing, and information retention. So when we think about play as a way of actually supporting children through the transition, we should never underestimate how we can use it to actually make that transition as smooth as possible. I'll just change again. And this is another thing to remember around that is around the fact that the more information our children get through sensory stimulation, the more it helps them to learn and remember. So creating an environment and the strategies that I'm going to teach you tonight or speak to you about are actually around creating that sort of sensory stimulation. So it actually allows children to remember and learn as they go and to start to process their way through their transition. I will keep that slide going. Um, uh, we now know that through all of the sort of the work that's being done in neuroscience and in research, that play is fundamental and actually has a number of position statements that have been put out. Our Australian developmental paediatricians have also released a statement about the importance of play. And this particular statement from the National Risky Play Position Statement talks about the type of play that children might be engaged in. And so your children are now going to be taking on a whole new world in moving into a formal school setting. But play doesn't become less important. In fact, play becomes more important as they get older because it is that way of how they actually lead to more positive learning and development outcomes for them. So let's start looking at some of those strategies that we should be looking at. And getting orientated and planning ahead is a really important part of preparing your children for transition to school. And so when we think about preparing that time, it's not too early to start right now, to start this coming weekend, in fact, with some of the strategies that we can start to do. And we can do it in a playful way. So let's have a look at those strategies. And I've just got some things. So the first thing is about getting your children adjusted to routines and the sorts of routines that might be happening at school. Now, you might be wondering how you do that. And we can actually break down some of those simple routines into play experiences. You might want to actually even set up environments where children can actually play schools. They might have even started to play schools and pretend to be teachers or pretend to be the student. And that's a really natural part of them processing for themselves how they sort of become and how that big move is going to affect them because they're already starting to think about it. But when we think about the routines, you might like to actually start thinking about packing their lunches and taking lunches in lunch boxes and whatever you're going to be serving lunch in for your children, taking that outside and putting out a picnic blanket and having these packed lunches for your weekends or having them during the school holidays. These opportunities for children to actually navigate how you open your lunchbox, how you unwrap your sandwich, all of those sorts of the challenges. What we're trying to do in actually doing some activities before they start school is we're making it that there is less things they have to learn when they get to school. They can just enjoy it. They're already sort of undertaken some of those challenges. So think about the sorts of routines they might have, which might be starting to get up early and getting dressed into a particular outfit or, working, using your lunches, having morning tea breaks. Those sorts of things are really important to start as soon as possible. So that by the time your child starts school, when your lunch arrives or when they're getting up in the morning, there's a certain routine already established that they're not having to learn. They've already got that through. And it can be a very playful way by having picnics and by having opportunities to even sometimes play act as if you're starting school. You might be the child as well. You might want to talk to your children about the opportunities you had as a child. Now, starting school, obviously, for everyone has different experiences. So if you do find that you didn't have such a positive experience, try to avoid the horror stories. It's like, when you're pregnant, everybody likes to tell you the horror stories. And likewise, your children are going to be exposed to everybody saying, giving them certain expectations. But we'll get onto that later. Let's think about uniforms. Important thing about uniforms is that children need to be able to move comfortably in them and to move around. And it's the same thing for school shoes. So when you're thinking about getting uniforms for your children, don't necessarily think they have to get the brand new uniform. In fact, secondhand uniforms that have actually been worn in are far more comfortable to wear and often a whole lot less itchy. But if you are using new uniforms, get them into the environment where they're starting to actually start to wear them now. Start washing them, start getting them soft, because the material gets to sort of soften, and it makes them feel far more comfortable. The important thing about school shoes is that children often, they'll learn to play in particular types of shoes, but they need to be able to play in their school shoes. So this is a time where, a little bit later on, closer to sort of the school holidays and through the school holidays, if you can get school shoes early and during that time, and let's just trust me, they will grow through them very fast. For those of you who've got older children, you'll see that school shoes could change, in 3 sizes across the course of a year. But have your children actually wearing those school shoes to go out and play. When you're taking them places, get them so they start to be comfortable in their shoes. Once again, if their uniforms are worn in, if their school shoes are comfortable and they know how to navigate the play equipment with them, being allowed to play on play equipment, climb on play equipment, wearing those clothes means that your children will become more confident about how they actually move their body. One less thing that they've got in that little head that they're trying to process. Playgrounds are one of those things that, you might be feeling a little bit intimidated, wondering about how your child will cope, particularly if there's a large age range of children. The important thing to recognise about playgrounds is if children can be familiar with how that playground works in advance. There may be some transitions that are being arranged at the school where children will be able to use the playground. But if you have got an opportunity to actually take your child into the playground at different times in the lead up to starting school so that they can become familiar with how that playground works, where the toilets are located, it develops their sense of confidence. And this is where being able to use the play equipment and navigate the play equipment is something that you can do in advance and prepare your child for. Play equipment is an incredible thing for children, and sometimes we underestimate how important it is. When children are able to climb, they actually develop their upper body strength. Need that upper body strength in order to be able to sit still in class. They need that to be able to actually sit on a chair. So don't underestimate giving your child plenty of opportunities to actually go out into the play areas, into parks and playgrounds, and have those opportunities to climb and develop that upper body strength. Even being able to swing, using swings and using and spinning around, really great for developing their vestibular systems, which is their sense of balance and coordination. These are all incredible skills they need in order to be able to thrive when they're learning. So we should never underestimate the sorts of activities your children are participating in when they play are actually preparing them for their learning environment. When children get into debates or discussions with other children, it's really common for that to happen and they can have arguments. And this is a time where we now have to start to stand back and ensure that our children, we don't necessarily intervene when children are having conflict with another child. We need to unless the child's physical safety is at risk, we need to make sure that we give them time to negotiate how they will manage that relationship. Play is a very important tool we use in order to learn how to navigate the very complex social relationships that they're going to have. When they get to school, there will be nobody navigating those social relationships but themselves. And they will not be always able to have to go to a teacher to address issues. So that's a really important part of getting your children comfortable now to actually be able to speak or to be able to withdraw from a situation when they don't feel comfortable. Allow a situation when they're playing to play out, to actually, to have the conflict, to see how it's resolved, and then use that opportunity afterwards to talk to your child about what happened and how they dealt with it, and find out, what they might have done differently or what they might do next time, because it's part of that learning experience. But being protective, we often want to jump in and solve the issues. We need to now start to think about our children as being independent, and we won't be there to solve that issue. So being able to navigate relationships is going to be very important for the years ahead. And when it comes to friendship, particularly when we're starting school. This is a time where children might be anxious because they might be going to a school where they don't have any other friends, they don't know people. This is the opportunity during the transition to school to sort of feel free to approach people and say, if who are going to be joining the class, to see if you can organise some play dates before school commences. Maybe it's during the school holidays, just an hour or two where the children can actually play together. And so by the time your child arrives at school, they already know certain children, they know relationships. The beautiful part about out of school hours care is your child, if you will be attending an out of school hours service, they will get to know a broad range of children of different ages. And this is actually a really supportive way for a child to enter school because it's like scaffolding. They have all these sort of older children there looking out for them and keeping an eye on them. And they really do. I worked in outside school hours care for over 20 years, and I always saw the out of school hours sector and the friendships formed there were like an extended family network. You always had people looking after you. You also had it that, when the older children would come down to the after school care, they'd often tell you what the little ones got up to that day in the playground or at school. So, you've got your own reporting mechanism here with some of those children. But it's an important part of forming those friendships, which allows your children to actually settle into the environments a lot quicker. So let's look at another part of this, and this is about managing expectations. And as I mentioned previously, we have got um, a, a range of people that will be telling your child a lot of stories, and they're all in good natured. And they'll be saying, oh, you're starting big school or you're going to school. So there is a lot of hype, a lot of expectation built up. Some of that expectation children won't even necessarily convey to you. There'll be just this growing sense of a little bit of anxiety and excitement about what is going to happen. Your child may have very clear ideas of what they think will happen. And I remember very clearly a little child once but coming to me. I'd seen him getting more and more quieter and depressed after starting school. He was just changing his personality. And I approached him and to find out what was the issue. And he confided in me that he'd been at school now for about 2 weeks and he didn't want to disappoint his parents, but he couldn't read and he couldn't write yet. Okay, and there is this expectation when you go to big school, you'll learn to read, or when you go to big school, you'll learn to write. And so this is where we start talking to children about what those expectations are, that we start talking to children saying, it'll take a while before you learn to read, or it'll be a while before you learn to write. And there'll be lots of other things you'll do first. And you'll get opportunities to play a lot when you're starting school. You'll get opportunities to draw, and that everyone will be, a different sort of learning. They'll know different things. Some will know to write their names, some won't. So talking to children about those expectations is really important because it really does alleviate a lot of the sense of anxiety and that people feel. And certainly when you have people in your family or friends who make statements such as when they get to school, school will sort them out, they're probably the people you need to take aside and say, we'd probably like you not to speak about school because that's not the image of school for us. And that's so we as adults, as caregivers, need to be really strong with people who may be creating a negative perception for children. So let's have a look at some of those other expectations. So skill development is certainly one of them. So talking to children and talking to your child about what sort of skills you think they're going to develop, what they think they're going to learn, what do they think they're going to learn when they first start school, what do they think they're going to be, what's the next, and looking at your skill development as making sure that the skills that that your child is taking into school, things like being able to climb, things like sort of being able to open lunch boxes, praising them for that skill development and reminding them that they're the sorts of things we also learn by going to school. We learn to be more independent. And so that sort of idea of skills, not just the skills of sort of what we might do in the classroom, but just the skills of being able to negotiate with our friends and talk to our friends and make new friends is a skill. So talking about those ideas with your children can start today. Okay, they can start and continue on so that children will be able to have a realistic expectation about what's going to happen when they get to school. The second one is around emotions. Never underestimate that your child, with regard to starting school, there's going to be a lot of emotion attached to it. And we are, as human beings, actually pick up on the vibrations from each other. Your child is going to tune in to you. If you're anxious or nervous, they're going to feel that as well. So be conscious of that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't take away that feeling of nervousness or anxiousness. But what we can do is actually say to the children, I'm a little bit nervous because you're going to big school and it's a big change. So be open about that, because once children can actually sense why you're feeling a little bit different or nervous, then it allows them to process their nervousness. Be aware with emotions that you will pick them up from school and they may have been really good all day holding it in. But that's when, the floods of tears might arrive, or the aggression, there might be anger, all sorts of emotions that they are learning to manage, because during the school day, they've really held those in. In most cases, children have held them in and they see you, and that's when it just, the floodgates open. So it doesn't mean they've had a dreadful day at school. It doesn't necessarily mean that after school care they had any problems, but it's that issue that they see you and they're emotional, and because they've held it together all day. And that's to be expected. It's also to be expected that your children are going to actually be very tired, and that first term is going to be a time of transition for you all as you adjust. Even if your child's been attending an early childhood service, there are still more changes when they get to school that they will be navigating. And so being aware of that, all that heightened emotions, means that we're careful with our routines. Think about what you can minimize in your life during particularly this first term, and making sure that we actually use plenty of opportunities for play. Because when children play, in their brains, they're releasing the feel-good hormones, those neurotransmitters, that we talked about, the half hour of play and a third of the neurons in the brain are changed. Well, that's changed by the neurotransmitters. And so those neurotransmitters around serotonin and dopamine, the feel-good hormones, are really good at sort of getting rid of the cortisol, which is another sort of neurotransmitter that's released in the brain, which is the stress. So that dilutes it. So looking at your routines to say, how can we be more playful in what we're doing? How can we ensure our children have lots of physical activity where they can be running around and climbing and actually really getting that emotion and sort of that cortisol out of their body, and getting the feel good hormones to sort of rush through it. Play is a strategy, but that's a really important one, and it's a catalyst for so much. So the final sort of area that I'd like to sort of draw your attention to is about the out of school hours experience. And it is an opportunity for children to quickly be part of a community. In fact, the out of school hours environment is based in play, and that's where you get a whole lot of these sorts of things happening. So your child, in attending an out of school hours environment, will have lots of different opportunities for play to happen. And with that comes the idea of being part of a community. The first experience your child has as an independent little person in a community will generally be in that out of school hours experience, because that is what's going to happen. So it's actually a really valuable opportunity for children to be able to have time to attend an out of school hours service. And I highly recommend it for children, because it is that opportunity for them to sort of wind down at the end of a day. But I would remind you that, that concern that you might have with regards to if it's not an every afternoon thing, children do get an expectation of, I'm going to be seeing my mother or father or caregiver at the end of a day. So I used to use the very simple strategy of putting a little different bag tag that was on their bag on the day, or even just a ribbon. So when they were going to the after school care program on that day, I'd put the ribbon or the bag, or for my daughter, it used to be a little Hulk creature. And so every time she went to her bag during the day, she'd be reminded, a little sort of trigger to say, oh, yes, that's right, I'm going to my after school care program this afternoon. And it means that children get sort of that sort of adjustment into the fact of what they're doing, and they're not disappointed that you're not waiting there at the end of the day. Because once they are there, they will be mixing with a whole range of children, and being little and new, they will probably be highly sought after, with everybody thinking how cute and wonderful they are and wanting to assist them. In fact, they'll generally, I find the kindergarten children in the out of school services are very overindulged by the older children. So, it can be a beneficial thing, but it means that they are able to continue that skill development in regards to their play and their physical activity. And so that's an important part of a child's life. So I suppose, just to finish off, I would actually urge you to savour this time. I'd like you to think back to 2014. Now, if you think back to what you were doing in 2014, time's gone pretty quick. And in the same way, when we look ahead, when you're looking ahead at 2038, this will all be behind you, and your child will be finishing school. And as they savour the time, make this first part of a child's entry into school a really pleasurable, wonderful part. Inject that playfulness into it, and ensure, knowing that when you are playful, when you use opportunities to actually put playful activities into your child's life, you are creating a really strong foundation for their brain development, for their success in the school learning environment, and certainly their physical development. So it's an important thing that we should never negate. And I'm more than happy to talk some more about that if you've got some questions. Over to you, Mel.
Thank you, Robin. What a fantastic way for us to learn. And thank you for, really inspiring us around the importance of play. I think as we continue to learn more about how it does support our children's brain development and their, social and emotional skills, what a wonderful way to play with your child about getting ready for school, popping the uniform on, opening the lunchbox, looking at the school shoes. I wish I'd known all those sorts of things when my little kids started school, and they might have come home with blisters after their new shoes, but
Yeah,
please
that's why
make
we get ready soon.
absolutely. And, just even opening the plastic on a sandwich is sometimes a tough thing to do. So, yeah, make it fun. It is really, really important. And thank you for inspiring us about play. And I just want everybody to know that outside school hours is, about being ready in the morning and having that fun after school as children transition back into family. So please, if there's anything we can do to help you with this transition or support you with this transition, that's exactly what we're here for. And they're smaller groups than what you might find in your larger classroom sizes, with other children that'll be there to help. The ones that are pretty seasoned at going to school are always there and very helpful to our little prep and kindy children. Thank you. I'm now going to hand over to Shauna, who's going to show, have a discussion with you about how we actually support this wonderful transition into outside school hours care.
Thanks,
Shauna.
Mel. Thank you. Welcome to Prep, I think, is the biggest part of this. I'm very excited to share with you all how we support children as they make one of the biggest transitions of their school journey. So starting prep and outside school hours is huge. At Junior Adventures Group, we believe these first experiences lay the foundations for a child's confidence, well-being, and a love for learning. So our aim is to ensure that every child feels safe, valued, and excited every time that they attend with us. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through how we prepare and welcome our new prep students, what supports we have in place for their transition, and the ways we help them build friendships, independence, and a joy in our program. So how do we support their transition to prep? The transition into prep starts long before the first day of school, sorry. We highly encourage our families to book their children into a January school holiday program before the school year begins. This is one of the best ways for your children to become familiar with the school and the OSH environments, because things are a little bit quieter in school holidays. They build early friendships with the children who will be starting prep, or they can reconnect with some familiar friends or faces from kindy, which is quite cute. They also get to know the educators. This is the most important part because they build a sense of safety and connection. During this time, we plan special activities that help our preps explore and feel comfortable. They visit the prep classrooms, the prep playgrounds, they go to the library, find the toilets and other key spaces within the schooling environment. We also buddy our preps up with some of our senior students, or if they have a sibling, they can act as a leader or a guide for them. These early experiences allow the children to feel excited rather than anxious before the school starts. One of the other most valuable supports we offer is our key educator approach. Each prep child and area has a designated educator who becomes familiar and a consistent adult for those children. This educator gets to know every child, their interests, needs, routines, and they form a secure relationship with them that helps them settle more easily. This approach begins early, and it begins through our school prep orientations, where we meet our families and children in a familiar surrounding. Service open days, where families visit our space, meet our team, and they can ask any questions that they feel they need to. And then those holiday programs in the January session, providing opportunities for connection and play before the term begins. Once again, our term time care means we are maintaining consistent routines and support throughout the year. Having a trusted adult makes a world of difference in helping children feel seen, understood, and safe. How do we support children settle into the environment? Is knowing that school and starting school is a really huge step, and every child experiences it very differently. To ensure that all children feel supported, we work closely with schools, teachers, and childcare centres throughout the year to gather insights about each child's strengths and any additional support needs that we need. For some children, we hold stakeholder meetings with families and educators to develop a tailored transition plan that ensures consistency between school, home, and OSH. We also take the time to review every child's enrolment form, which is a pivotal part of that enrolment process. It captures their interests, favourite activities, strengths, learning styles, and the most important thing is their social and emotional needs. We use this information so that we can design experiences that reflect who they are, helping every child feel strong and a sense of belonging from day one. We also recommend having consistent bookings, as these will ensure that your child is supported to thrive in our environment. We know that children learn and thrive best when they're having fun. Our programs are child-led and interest-based, meaning we listen to what children enjoy and build our activities around the ideas and passions. For our preps, this often includes arts and crafts, painting, cutting, gluing, making take-home projects that, quite honestly, as a parent, no one wants to take home and stick on their fridge. Group games, promoting teamwork, turn-taking, social skills, messy play and sensory exploration, because learning through touch, texture and experimentation is so valuable, and we want them to do the messy play with us. The parachute and movement play is so great for physical coordination and group cooperation. And the most important one is dress and imaginative play, encouraging self-expression, creativity, storytelling, And to be honest, as educators, this is our favourite part of why we do what we do. By providing activities at the right developmental level, children feel capable and confident, and they're more likely to participate and share their ideas and make new friends. So what does a day in the life of OSH look like? A typical afternoon at OSH is structured, but it's flexible. It's designed to balance routine, play, and rest. So a usual day might look like for your prep. An educator will warmly greet each child, collecting them from their classroom. They then help them with their mini helper vest and support their transition from the classroom to the OSH room. Always have a nutritious snack and a chance to socialise and unwind after a busy school day. And then free play and programmed activities. So children can choose from a range of activities in the room or outdoor areas, from arts and craft to sport or construction. Homework time is always available. This is usually after 4 p.m, but we provide a calm space for children who wish to complete their schooling tasks. And of course, the group experiences, games, team challenges, or just a story time to bring everyone together before going home. Children are also encouraged to take on small roles such as being a food server or helping pack away. These moments also foster independence, responsibility, and a pride in contributing to their community. The OSH environment offers countless opportunities for learning and development beyond the classroom. For our preps, some of the key benefits include hands-on learning experiences such as gardening, cooking, messy play, like I mentioned, and craft that help children explore creativity and they build those fine motor skills. Social connections through small group play, collaborative projects. Children build friendships and learn empathy, cooperation, and resilience. Community belonging. Participating in group games, events, and themed days help every child feel as they are part of something special. Confidence building. Taking on small responsibilities, trying new things in a supportive environment. Children grow in independence and self-esteem. At JAG, we're not just a care environment. We're a place where children feel valued, understood, and inspired every day. So, our commitment to families. We know that strong partnerships with families are at the heart of a successful transition. We value your input and your feedback. We encourage open communication at every stage, whether it's sharing your child's interest, raising a concern, or we're going to celebrate those achievements with you. We want to work alongside you to ensure that your child's experience is positive and meaningful. Together, we can create a smooth, supportive, and enjoyable start to your PREPS journey. Thank you for trusting us to be part of your child's exciting chapter.
Thank you, Shauna. And before we get into childcare subsidy, there's just a couple of questions going through which I think might be for you to answer, if that's okay. So from Jess, Shauna, do we pack food for vacation care or is it provided?
So most of our services, we provide morning tea, or breakfast always, but morning tea and afternoon tea. And unless it's advertised on the program, we ask that parents provide lunch.
Fantastic. That's for holiday program, for HHQ vacation care. And sometimes there are food activities which are part of the program, so that will be included. And then there's a special question from Lauren. Would there be many Kindy 2026 students attending the January HHQ program, Shauna?
To be honest, I highly encourage any prep child that is attending prep in 2026 to be joining in our January holiday program. Like I said, it's not just about going and visiting some of those important little spots in the school grounds, but if you could imagine a really busy transitional area during school term time to just, Helping Hands OSH facility opened in those school facilities at that time, we really get to explore really deeply how that school runs, and those children get to know that environment. It's very, very important for them. So yes, we get a lot.
Absolutely. And they'll be the ones that get to know a few of the older children before they start, which is wonderful. And we'll take extra special care of them because they're the new ones starting in the school grounds. So I hope that answers your question. We will get to some more questions later and continue to pop your questions in the Q&A because they are super important to us. And now I'm going to hand over to the lovely Jess, who's going to talk us through childcare subsidy, which can be a bit tricky because we have to deal with the government for this one. So Jess, can you tell us how to all navigate this area, please?
Yes, I can, and I'll keep it as simple as possible. But yes, childcare subsidy, or CCS as we call it. The great news is that all of our programs are eligible for the childcare subsidy. And perhaps if your child has attended daycare before, you might already be familiar with CCS, you might have already claimed it. But in case this is your first time hearing about it, the childcare subsidy is a government payment that helps families by subsidising the cost of approved childcare. So that approved childcare does include our term time and our holiday program sessions. And for holiday program, it also covers our excursions as well, which is great. Now, most Australian families are eligible for a rebate of between 50% and 90% on their fees. And the exact percentage depends on your household income. So you can see the summary on the slide there. A family household income of up to just over $85,000 can get that subsidy rate of 90%. And then you can see it sort of depends from there. Families with a household income of all the way up to just over $535,000 are eligible for some portion of the subsidy as well. The other great news is once CCS is applied to your enrolment, the rebate is automatically deducted before we bill you, so you only pay the out-of-pocket cost. And if you haven't applied for CCS before, or if you haven't applied for CCS with us, with one of our services yet, you can do that through Centrelink on MyGov. And we've included a link on the slide that talks you through all the steps in the process, and you can have a look at that in your own time. But there is another exciting update coming to CCS in January 2026, and it's called the 3-day guarantee. So your CCS hours are the number of hours of care per fortnight that are covered by the subsidy, and they're currently based on your activity level. So activity includes things like work, volunteering, or study. And you can see the current breakdown of activity hours and corresponding CCS hours on the slide. But the really great news is from January 2026, all CCS eligible families will receive at least 72 hours of subsidised care per fortnight, no matter how many activity hours they do. So that's a great change. For example, if today you're currently at under 36 activity hours, you'll soon see an increase in your subsidised hours to 72 hours. And if you already receive 100 hours per fortnight, that stays the same. So that's not changing next year. But 72 hours, to give you some context, in long daycare or during our holiday programs at Junior Adventures Group, 72 hours per fortnight works out to be roughly 3 days of care per week. And during term time, where our sessions are shorter, of course, those 72 hours are usually more than enough to cover all of your before and after school sessions across the fortnight. So again, if you're new to CCS as well and want to read a little bit more in your own time, some more information about the 3-day guarantee is just linked on the slides, which we'll share with everyone as well. All right, so now that we've lightly covered CCS, let's move on to how you can enroll your child with Junior Adventures Group with one of our services. So before you jump in straight into the enrolment process, it's a great idea to have a few key things handy just to make things as smooth as possible. So have your customer reference number ready for both yourself and your child if you are planning to claim the childcare subsidy. And just keep in mind that the person completing the enrolment must be the same person linked to the child for CCS purposes. You'll want to have your bank account or card details handy as well. So these are for your direct debit payments, and they'll start only after your child's first session. With JAG, you'll be billed on a fortnightly basis, 2 weeks in arrears as well. You'll want to have some emergency contact details ready. You'll need at least one contact in addition to your guardian information. And also have your child's doctor's details, plus any information about any medical conditions and their immunisation record as well. So once you've got these ready to go, you're good to start the enrolment process. Now, there is a full step-by-step guide, again on the links, but a quick overview of what this looks like is, first of all, if you don't have one already, you'll need to create a Kidsoft Parent Portal account. And I'll go through our Parent Portal a little bit later, and it's an app and lots of things you can do on it. So you'll need to make sure you have one of those accounts. Once you've got that set up, you can log in, you can head to the Enroll menu and click Register. And from there, you'll be able to search for your service that you'd like to enroll in. Add your child's details in, complete the waitlist form. From there, you'll be able to complete the full enrolment and submit it through to us. Now, it's quite a streamlined process. Once submitted, you'll usually be able to start making bookings straight away. The only exception is if there is a medical condition or any other information that needs clarification, our service team will reach out to you directly to confirm before your bookings can proceed. And one big tip on the enrolment is to make sure you include as much information as possible about your child on the form. The more we know, the better our team can support your child and ensure they have the best possible experience in our care. All right, let's talk about how to book and our parent portal. So once you've enrolled, you've got your parent portal account, you can manage all of your bookings through the portal, and you can do it via your mobile app if you prefer, or you can use a computer to log in as well. Now, with our bookings, there's a couple of booking options available to suit your family's needs. If you do have a regular routine, you can set up those recurring bookings. So that can lock in the same sessions for on a fortnightly or a weekly basis. And you can set that up for the whole term or the full year. That's a really good way to secure your child's spot. But if your schedule tends to change week by week, you can also make more casual bookings closer to the date as well, more ad hoc sort of bookings too. Each of our services offers flexible booking types. So we've got options for those who like to schedule well in advance, or for those who need a bit more of that last minute flexibility. There are a range of options at our services. But just again, keep in mind, booking ahead does guarantee your spot and does give you access to the best available rate at your service as well. While you're in your parent portal, there's a lot of other things you can do. You can update your contact and account details. You can check your account statements and your balances as well. You can manage and update your child's information. You can upload any documents, medical conditions, anything like that. And you can even view your CCS entitlements as well, if applicable. Of course, if you ever need a hand with any of this, so whether it's CCS questions, how to enroll, how to book, we do have our customer experience team available on the phones, via email, and even through the app. You can message through the app. And we're available Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time at the moment. Again, our website, our phone numbers are on the website for you as well. Alrighty, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is the fantastic welcome offer we have. So if you enroll by the 28th of February next year, 2026, you will receive a welcome pack, and that'll be ready for the collection at your service. So inside the welcome pack, you'll have all the handy information you need regarding your service. And there's a few fun surprises in there for the kids. The bag tag and the stickers are always a big hit. The kids love that. And the bag tag's great for popping on your bag when they're going to OSH as well. Now, once you're enrolled, we do have another offer as well. You are eligible to receive 3 free Fridays. So that's 1 free Friday session from each of our programs. So that's 1 Holiday HQ session in January of 2026. And then 1 Rise and Shine session, that's our morning program in term 1, and 1 Stay and Play session in term 1, and that's our after school program. So really great. Shauna's touched on it before. It's a great way for your child to transition smoothly into OSH and into school, and experience all 3 of our session types, and start the year feeling confident and excited. So this offer is exclusive just to our Prep and Kindy families. And make sure you enroll and claim it ahead of the January holidays so you can take advantage of all 3 of the sessions as well. So again, link on this slide too, with all the details on how you can claim your offer for the 3 free Fridays.
Great, thanks, Jess. We might leave that very important slide up for a minute because these are gifts to you and we want you to really, make sure that you can utilise them. And a couple of questions for you, Jess, while you're there. But one here, is as Solange has asked, for holiday program, can we just book random days, Jess, or do we have to book in for whole weeks? And how would you pick the random days we want to book?
You most definitely can book random days. And the great thing is you can do both actually. So if you know you need the cover, the care, the program for the full 2 weeks, we've actually got our holiday program open for bookings for the whole year in advance. So if you need to lock in the days, great. But if you're more wanting to know what's happening on what day and you want to sort of choose what your child might like, our programs are released during the term prior to the holidays coming up. So you can look on our website. You'll also get an email with the brochure, and you might like to say, oh, I'm going to go on Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, and Thursday because we've got an excursion, we've got this activity, we've got this theme. So you can do it that way too.
Fantastic. And Kim's actually already enrolled, so she's done amazingly well. So thank you. She enrolled months ago, but she's still eligible for the free Fridays, Jess. And how does she do that?
Yes. So you're already enrolled. You're way ahead of us actually. So that's great. So you can definitely still, go ahead with the 3 free Fridays. So if you have a look on the link here, you can see how you claim it, but you'll just need to book in and then we'll apply that for you, or apply the free, as long as you book in 1 holiday and then 1 before and 1 after in term 1.
Fantastic. And from Amanda, Jess too, how can you send the app to do the bookings? How do we actually get to the app so we can book?
Yeah, great. On one of the previous slides on the how to enroll, there's actually a link straight to downloading KidSoft and setting up your account on your how to enroll. So pop in there and that'll show you everything you need to do to get that app, to get the account, and then you've actually got to download it on your app store as well if you prefer the physical app on your phone.
Thanks so much, Jess. I'm going to head over to Shauna now because I know she knows the answer to this question. And I just wanted to reiterate to someone like Shauna and Jess and your outside schoolhouse care educators, they can be there with your child throughout their whole school journey. They're people that will have relationships and build connection with them through the 6 or 7 years they're at primary school. So these are really, really important parts, people in your child's journey and adventure. So Shauna, Jason's asking, how do we get to know what the activities are on the certain days throughout term time and holiday program? How can parents see that?
So throughout term time, they're normally communicated through the service that you're enrolled in and your children attend that school. There are also communications that I would hope your services are communicating with you verbally as well as the children during their children's meetings that they have with them every afternoon. And they're the parts of the piece that make them excited and go home to you and beg you to attend OSH. So there's a few different ways that you'll receive those, either via email, verbally through staff to yourself or whoever's collecting the child, or via the child themselves.
Fantastic, Shauna. And also Vera's asking here too. She's got a child commencing OSH in the holiday program, what do you recommend is the time they spend on those first few days? Do they spend the whole day or do they just come for a couple of hours? What's the best?
I did read that one before, and I think it's purely a personal preference on a parent. Like we highly encourage, obviously, parents are the first teachers for every child. So if you feel like you need to attend with your child and be in the program with us, then we can accommodate that. But we will completely keep in contact with you if you drop your child off and they feel very uncomfortable, or there's different things happening, then we will be in touch with you to come and collect, or whatever that looks like. Like I said earlier, we really manage that program, especially at the beginning of the year for our preppies, to be very secure and safe within the environment that they're in. So we have those designated educators to support them throughout their transition into OSH. It's a very important time. So hoping that they could spend the whole day with us, because that would be even funner.
Absolutely. And everybody, just please remember, if there's for any reason they feel upset or it is getting a bit overwhelming, we will of course contact you immediately and have those conversations openly with you as well. We've got a couple more minutes for questions, everybody, so I am going to go through a couple because I think they'll be really important information for everybody. But Jess, could you just, Solange has asked here too, if I have a child in long daycare or centre-based daycare and one in OSH, how does the CCS percentages work for multiple children? And is there any one tip you'd give parents, above all others, about CCS?
Yeah, so if you've got two children in different sort of care types, your family percentage will be the same, but the bill can vary a little bit depending on the hour or the length of the session. So you might notice a difference between the CCS coverage in OSH, where 72 or 100 hours per fortnight might cover all of your sessions, whereas long daycare, it might only cover 3 days a fortnight. So it does get a little bit complicated, and when you do have questions like this, our customer experience team are absolute experts, can have a look at your statement and talk you through exactly the breakdown, which is really handy because it can be a little bit tricky at first. And yeah, I guess my big tip for CCS is have a look at our link there, set it up through MyGov, and just make sure once you've followed the steps to then connect with us. Once you've done our enrolment, you do then need to go back into MyGov and confirm your enrolment with us. And that's sort of the missing step for connecting CCS as well. But don't worry, we are looking out for you here as well. We do regular checks, and we reach out to families who might have missed certain steps to make sure that you're actually connected. Once you're connected and you're continually attending, it's usually pretty seamless. And as I said, it's applied before you're even billed, which is great.
Thank you so much, Jess. We will get to, if we don't answer your question today, please reach out to our CX team and they'll answer it straight away. These slides will be made available to everybody that's registered today, so you will have all the links and all the contact details. I've got a very important question for you, Robin, if that's okay. I read some neuroscience research recently that spoke about the fact that, confident children learn really well. They learn faster often than smart ones because they've got this great ability to believe that they can do things for longer and that their brains can adapt and recover quickly, which is part of what we completely understand around the importance for play. So Tony's actually asked here too about this. Could you just give us a little bit more information around how important play is for the well-being and development of our children? Oh, you're on mute, sorry.
One of the things we know about the brain and the way it works best is it works best when it's relaxed. Okay, and it's actually, and we're open to learning, and so confidence and being relaxed are two of those areas, and we can actually use play in a way that allows children to actually relax themselves. So, in the morning time, being able to play and use that, prepare your brain really for learning. So if they've been able to have some physical activity in the morning, some activity that's relaxed them, that prepares their brain for learning when they go into the classroom. And certainly afterwards, once again, being able to play throughout the day, but also playing when they leave the classroom in the afternoon, once again creates that opportunity for children's brains to be functioning, because their prefrontal cortex isn't filled with cortisol and they're not stressed. So in preparing us for starting school, what we want to do is minimise as many of those different distractions of things that they're already having to be stressed over and learn. So play creates those opportunities for them to play it out beforehand. Any of their anxiety and stress, they can start to play it out and builds their mental health. And when they're actually feeling relaxed, they can feel confident. And so it builds their ability to participate in the classroom because they're already achieving things. They're already achieving and feeling comfortable with their bodies and the way their bodies move, and they're comfortable with that they're actually making small achievements.
Fantastic, thank you. It just really highlights the importance of what we do in those mornings and afternoons around school and also during school holidays. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure being here with you. There are another couple of questions around times of our sessions and what we can do with CCS. And like I said, we will definitely reach out to you and answer those. They're really important details and we want you to feel super comfortable. Please jump on these what are they called? Jump on the QR codes, everybody, and you'll find lots and lots of detail behind that, including once you pop in the service that you're looking for, that the school you're looking for, it will give you all the opening and closing times and how you can book and lots of more important information for you. So enjoy this time. As Robin said, this is a really, really exciting time for you and your child as they start this new wonderful adventure. Savor the moment because it does go incredibly quickly, and make it fun for both of you and all of you, the whole family. Make it fun for the whole family. So thank you again for being here, and we look forward to catching up next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.